Session will start. Here we go then. Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, children, and freaks of all sorts. Welcome back to the greatest show in all of esports entertainment. It is, of course, the pinnacle of virtual motorsports, that little old NASCAR F1 hybrid that we all know and love as JACKOCAR. It's another new season with another new rules package, but it's the same old JACKOCAR with the same familiar faces, only this time we've brought back some of the old guard. And if you saw the tweet earlier, this is the most decorated grid in the history of the league. So with that, the drivers are here, you're here, I'm here, and guess who else is here? Here's my co-commentator for the evening, Mr. Danny Quinn. Welcome aboard.
Yeah, it's great to be here, of course. Season 8 here in JACKOCAR. I am very excited to see this stat grid for this season, of course. I won't be here for the whole season. It's going to be rotated between myself and Bazza, but it's an absolute pleasure to be here for this. Well, I guess it's a tradition round here to have a double header on the first race of the season.
It's something we've definitely done before, as I'm going to very quickly, should have been prepared, Danny, very quickly adjust the audio here because I know what people are like. Ah, that'll be all right. We'll see how we get on with that. Yeah, we've done 25% races before. The Silverstone doubleheader springs to mind. But yeah, it's normally a TGP thing, and we do take a lot of our influence from TGP and ILR. But yeah, JACKOCAR back once again. That's the most important thing. And speaking of things and people that are back, what about this? Khalifa El Khalifa, Season 3 champion. And it's been 57 races since we last saw him. He was a reserve in Season 4. He did 2 races, the most recent of those being the post-season opener in Belgium, where he finished P3, a race, I believe, which the next man on track, Arnaud, won. But how good, Danny, is it to see these old names back on the grid in JACKOCAR?
Oh, it's amazing to see the likes of Khalifa and Arnaud back on the grid. It's just another level of competition for the already rapid guys that we have here in Cup Series. So, yeah, of course, our last season was one of the most compared seasons, and now this, I definitely think it'll top last season.
You'd certainly hope so, wouldn't you, with the names at the back? And I'm sure we will run through those names along with the names that are familiar to the league already. You know, your current champion, your Ben Shaws, and people like that. Jamie Wright, who has actually made it into qualifying. But JACKOCAR and the Cup Series for Season 8 is go. And here goes Khalifa then on his outlap. And what will he do into Turn 1? He is, of course, very, very rusty, he'll tell you. It's his first league race in over a year. And, well, you would expect, however, despite all that rust, he should be able to shake it off because he is a champion, and he was very, very nearly a 2-time champion. He lost it in Season 1 by 0.3 of a second to Pete Knighton, who you'll see later on. Khalifa, back in the day, you may remember he ran white and red liveries with a bit of black in there, but he's mixing it up today with a bit of ERT blue. Of course, the 4 drivers that have returned to us are all ERT, but of course that has no relevance whatsoever due to the fact that JACKOCAR does not have teams. You'll never guess what, Danny. Your friends are where you find them. Here comes Khalifa then, a little bit of an error through there, and that will ruin his lap as he goes over the bridge and into this very, very tricky hairpin. Even I struggle with this, but then again, I'm not an expert. So yeah, Khalifa, as long as he keeps it valid, that's all he'll be looking to do on his return. Of course, the game telling you he was purple in Sector 1. You've got to stay right of that white line, which he does. I wonder how many that will catch out later on. So we see Yori has the wet tyres selected. I wonder if he knows something that we don't. It looks awfully dry at the moment. Here comes Khalifa then under the grandstand. Just a few more corners to go. It'll turn into a right and then a left and then a double left-hander to end. What can the man who has 11 race wins to his name deliver on his first qualifying session in 57 attempts? Khalifa to the line. It's your provisional pole of a 1:38.8.
Yeah, that was a very solid and clean lap there from Khalifa. And I'm just on board with Arnaud now, being second person out on track and a second returnee of this session. Purple, second sector here. Don't think that means much, but we'll see by the end of the session. Through this very tight and twisty, validates. Goes over the curb a little bit too much there, does Arnaud. And we have the first invalidation of this season.
And that is true to form, is Arnaud. He always invalidated, didn't he? A man who actually, until last season, had the pole record. Ben Shaw took that off of him, but it's a classic Arnaud thing to do. If he's not on pole, he's at the back. And, of course, this is, we'll talk more about him later on, but a potential swan song season for him. As we move on to one of the league's, we can say bad boys, but he may well have cleaned up his act because he knew how badly he missed racing and wanted to get back into it. So after a season ban due to issues in Season 6, he missed out Season 7. He did, well, I think, one race as a reserve. But Corey Dalton is back, 2 visits to the Championship 5, no title to show for it, but absolutely on the money. One of the bookies' favourites, and when the seeds come out a couple of weeks ago, he was ranked 3rd, only behind the reigning champion of Jake O'Sullivan and Ben Shaw, who is absolutely putting all the numbers in over the last couple of seasons, but he's got a bit more competition now. Here comes Corey then through the final couple of corners. What will he do? Can he beat Khalifa early doors? Yes, he can. 1.5 seconds quicker. Corey means business here in Singapore, as we will now move on to Jordan, who has not left the pit lane, according to my screen. Can you confirm that, Danny?
Yeah, for me it says that he's also in the pit lane. I did also check that he actually had lagged out of the session and he joined back a couple minutes ago. So
okay, so yeah, Jordan then he will miss qualifying, unfortunately, but he did want me to mention to everybody that he is now running no traction control, so good for him. And there you go, he has now retired. So Sullivan Lewis next. And I think his lap is right at the end, actually. We spent too much time focused on Jordan's car, but there it is, P2 then for Risky. And this is about the first time in 3 seasons that he's actually been here for the season opener. So Danny, over to you with Mr. Connor Byers in that 74 car.
Yeah, just coming through the DRS zone now for the slight right-hand kink, and then to section of triple 90-degree corners. Takes it very clean through the first. Could have got a little bit closer to the apex for the second. Third one is more high speed. Carry the speed through. Very clean and tidy there from Connor. Then to the old Singapore sling, which as we know is not there anymore. Then through to the hairpin here, goes very deep into it, completely misses the apex, but is nice and tidy on the apex.
Yeah, and you can see, just to interrupt you there, you can see how dirty his tyres were just by going offline through the sling and then into the hairpin. So this is not a very good lap for Connor, but I did want to point out that he did almost win in Canada last season. If he can keep his head, he may not be one of the higher seeding drivers, but he does have it in him. What is he, coming up to 80 races or so? Yet to win a race, but he certainly has it in him. So what can he do here in qualifying in Singapore? Under the lights, Connor Byers. It's P2 sharing that front row with Corey for now. And next up then, Mr. Peter Knighton. Now, with the lack of Michael O'Keke, we're sad to say, who has dropped down to Kia Series, Mr. Knighton and Mr. Lewis are the only 2 drivers on this grid who have competed full-time in every single Cup Series season to date. So just the 2 from back in the day. Here comes Pete then, final corner, DRS open, it's P4, looking to have less spins this season. Can the Season 1 champion get back to the form that we know he is capable of? Sheck Ways, Mr. Ways Cuba, has invalidated, unfortunately. He is filling in for Ross, the reserve driver, who was originally filling in for Michel Goris. So Ben Harrett then, Danny?
Yeah, just need to get to him. Yeah, it's a very, very nice livery there from Ben Harrett. He's always had very nice liveries.
Yeah, he's got to be good at something, hasn't he? In fact, speaking to Jake O'Sullivan, apparently early doors when this game come out, Ben Harrott was absolutely rapid. He was the man to beat, according to good friend Jake. Maybe a little bit of bias, but the one-time race winner, we perhaps suspect good things out of him. So what can he do?
Yeah, just coming through the old Singapore sling, and coming through the bridge and then into the hairpin, very tight to the apex. Gets on the power, no wheel spin, very nice from Ben Harrott there. Tyres a bit dirty, though that won't affect him. You want to get right up close to that white line on the left hand side, now through the tight and twisty section here. Of course, this part that we're coming up to now won't be in the game in a, well, we're not sure when, but the devs have said that they're removing this part due to real life.
Good. Good.
So yeah, coming up to the final corner, it's going to be close to Risky and Connor. What time will it be for Ben Harrott? It's about a tenth off, actually, from Risky, so P5.
P5 for Ben Harrott. And here is a man then, Mike Kelterborn, finally got another race win, his second race win last season, but tonight celebrates 100 starts in the Cup Series. Does the man from Germany, he goes P7, not the best time, but 100 starts is an incredible feat. And I think he's fifth all time in starts, so cracking effort from Mike. Next up is Jamie Griffiths. I'll let you speak to the people about Jamie numbers then, Danny. Lovely livery.
Yes, a very, very nice livery there. Very colourful, as he usually does. Now coming through under the grandstand, goes over the curb, hops over it. You want to carry as much minimum speed as you can through these next two corners, and then on the power early, get as best a run as you can through the final corner. Lifts off a little bit too much there, but it's a 38.8 only, was 24 thousandths of a second behind Khalifa's time.
Looking close, isn't it? Jamie numbers actually is, or has, moved to Will. But more importantly, Owen Wyatt, a man who had no time for JACKOCAR last season. All of a sudden, race 1 and race 2, he's here, but he's on track, and I'm in his seat. So how does that work? But as ever, Owen would always slate drivers for their liveries. You've got to do white and green and blue properly. And, well, he has, to be fair. And that's P1. What a lap from the former lead commentator in JACKOCAR, Owen Wyatt, proving a point then. Probably because I underpaid him. But anyway, next up, your mate and mine, Mr. Gareth Hall.
Yeah, but don't really like this livery from Gareth, to be honest. So, yeah, he's just gone wide. Well, what a disgrace of a driver Gareth is. Jesus, he's going wide everywhere.
And Gareth is actually most upset that Waze is racing tonight. And in his own words, is the biggest star in the Cup Series out of those who aren't already champions, which makes him the 8th fastest driver statistically, or in my own words, absolutely bang average. But what can Gareth Hall, the lead commentator of the Kia Series as it happens, and he'll be joined this season actually by Yori Hazelager, who we'll see in a second. So Gareth and Yori on Kia commentary duties. That'd be fantastic to hear. Although I imagine I'm full well going to be getting a good slating on September 5th, as well as yourself, Danny. But here comes Gareth up to the line. Mr. Hall puts it P10. Absolutely bang average.
Yeah, that was woeful from Gareth there. But
woeful, says Danny Hall. Danny Quinn. Speaking of woeful, how about Mr. No Wing Hazelager?
Yeah,
do I have any notes on Yori? I do.
I don't know what's happened to him there. Well, it's the same with Casper as well. He's invalidated as well.
Yeah, Yori stopping on track there. The current Kia Series champion, but he is limited to Cup only this season because he was too fast for Kia. Next up, you say Casper has invalidated. Casper is quietly confident coming into this, he tells us. He tries not to get too involved in the chat. But of course he has invalidated, so he's going to have to start from the back then today. Which leads us on to the final 5. I would say the fast 5, but one of them is a reserve driver. Leroy Hazelager then, Danny. He has made the Championship 5 in the Cup Series last season. Got better and better as the season went on. Had multiple requests to race in the Kia Series denied, and for good reason. Because when you win the chase, you're clearly far too good to be racing down there. But on a new game, if he strikes early and gets those points in, can he win races? Can he maybe even push for a regular season title? Or maybe a title for the Cup Series overall? Who knows?
Yeah, I feel like just because it's a new game is very different from F1 22. Anything can happen. And we've seen in past seasons where I switched games that drivers who may not have been good in one game just completely come out of nowhere and come out into the next one. And Leroy, nearly said Yuri there, but Leroy puts himself P3.
So he does. Now then, the all-time pole sitter in the Cup Series and JACKOCAR as a whole, Mr. Ben Shaw. It says Speed Iceman for now, but that name will be changing, I've been rightfully assured. But Ben, also known as the Tennessee Shagger, for those of you who don't know, there is some relevance to that, as we went away to the United States and talked and discussed and made up some new rules for the league. But the Tennessee Shagger has a few corners to go. The man who's dominated and has been the most prolific pole sitter over the last 2 seasons. Can he bang it on pole here in Singapore? Ben Shaw to the line. It's P1. It's massive. And he clears Owen Wyatt. What can the rest do? Jamie Wright, you're up first. Oh, he's invalidated. He's invalidated, Daddy. Oh. And of course, Jamie Wright has... he's moved to Will, so he did say don't expect too much. However, the talent you would expect to shine through at some point. But we'll move on then to...
Has Deck missed his qualifying spot?
Well,
because I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be Catchman going out for the last lap.
Catchman is just starting, and Deck is slightly behind, so yes. Well, let's just quickly talk about Deck, because he's irrelevant. Let's all say we all remember that Australia race, Deck. It still lives fresh in the mind of all of us. But you did indeed miss your qualifying slot, just like you missed the bit in the rules that said, please do not jump the restart. And that's why he had the win taken off of him. The man who rung his granny and celebrated over the phone and said, I've just won a race in Australia, only for the stewards to take it away moments later. It was Matthew Redmore who went on to win that one in the end with Ben Harrett on the podium. And we'll go back to Jake then, the reigning champion of the JACKOCAR Cup Series, 2-time champion who equalled Jamie Wright with championships last season. Thank you to the 18 people who are watching. I was just looking down there to see what notes I have on Jake. All it says is reigning champ. That's all you need to know. 8 Cup Series wins. I think it's now 3 Championship 5 appearances as well. A man who we really do expect to bring the challenge to Khalifa and Arnaud and Corey. At the moment, the 2 people doing that are Ben Shaw and Owen Wyatt, who is a reserve this evening. But what can Jake O'Sullivan do? One of the biggest names in esports. Of course, if you race in JACKOCAR, this is the pinnacle. So if you top a leaderboard here, you are better than everybody else in the world. It's a known fact. And I've said it many times before. Jarno Opmeer and Thomas Ronhar would love to be a part of this on a Thursday night. But Jake O'Sullivan to the line. What can he do? P1! He goes on pole in Singapore! Jake with a massive lap once again. But look how close those top 3 are. Corey Dalton, he come here to win. He's not even going to start on the front row. Massive, massive lap from the current champion.
Yeah, the front 2 as you expect. But I would say Owen Wyatt's a surprise, but I know what his pace is like, so it's not really a surprise. There aren't really... Well, apart from Arnaud... Well, Arnaud invalidating isn't really a surprise, is it?
No, we did call for that.
Well,
so just read chat. Go on.
Gareth, really. He's just really disappointing with that lap.
Where is Gareth? Down in 13.
It's
Gareth already in chat
2.3.
complaining of the sweat that's gone on here. You would have to assume
5 seconds. Nearly 5 seconds off the pole time. What are you doing, Gareth?
one would have to assume that Gareth has made an almighty cock up on his lap. But yeah, let's leave Gareth to it to start down in 13th. Let's look at this grid. Look at the top three. Are we in for a repeat of it, Danny? Look at this. Jake and Ben, 15 hundredths of a second there. That's, so close.
Even to Corey, 3 tenths. That's still very close. The top 4 lap pace are very closely matched.
They've made Corey look like he's standing still. And then there's the rest. Look at them. Bloody Leroy is the literal best of the rest. And Connor, who I said, if he keeps his head, he'll be up there. Risky Pete, Ben and Khalifa complete the top 10. The rest we don't care about because I didn't have time to do it. Well, what an exciting qualifying that was. We're still seeing in chat the top 3 is fucking nuts. I'm reading fuck Waze, right. Fuck Gareth, the fucking moisture. And as I look up at my TV screen, the rain is falling. Who saw this one coming then?
Maybe Yuri, by putting the wets on in qualifying. Maybe he knew.
Yeah, that is true. We did see that from Yuri. He should have kept him on as well because the qualifying didn't go too well.
Yeah. Something that I wanted to mention before we even started is that going from race 1 to race 2, the top 3 actually will not be partaking in the qualifying session in race 2.
Yeah, so that's the podium sitters from the race, not the top 3 qualifiers.
Yeah.
But you would expect, say it's what they call Jake, Ben and Owen finish top 3 in this race, you would expect them to come through from the back. However, what you've got to think about is it is only a 25% race distance and also a one-stop race. A JACKOCAR one-stop, would you believe? I never thought I'd see the day. But yeah, let's get some stats up here. So Jake O'Sullivan kicks off the campaign in Season 8 with his 10th pole position. So he becomes the 7th driver to hit double figures. And of course, that is the first playoff point of the season as well. So as it stands, Jake is very much the man to beat. And also proves my my seedings correct as number 1. Technically, I was right with number 2 as well, wasn't I? Owen as a reserve, so Corey third. I got it spot on, Danny.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. What did you think of the Kia Series seedings, or were they a bit not to your liking? I think I had you second.
Yeah, you had me second. You had OKK first. The only one that I didn't agree with, and I voiced it to you, was Matt Shepard. I think, yes, he is inconsistent at times, but when he's on pace, very few people can even match him.
Yeah. Absolutely. I did reply to your point there as well at the time, saying if Matt Shepard had that consistency, he would be a lot higher. I think I said higher than me, so he'd go at least 5th. I think he was down in 7th or 8th at the time of the seedings were made, though.
When you put, who was it in 3rd? I think you put Wace in 3rd, which is one that surprised me.
Very good driver. He's getting better, a lot more consistency. But that is the Kia Series. That returns to your screens on September 5th. That is a Tuesday night. As ever, 13 rounds of the Kia Series, starting in Spain, ending in Spa, which Danny doesn't like because that means it's a gifted championship for me. However, I've made a very valid point and I've actually got to qualify for it first. So there you go. Anyway, the 20 drivers here in the Cup Series, the Season 8 of the Cup Series. Jake O'Sullivan, Ben Shaw, Owen Wyatt is a reserve filling in for Kieran Spears, Corey Dalton, Leroy Hazelager, Connor Byers, Sullivan Lewis, who's just retired, Pete Knighton, Ben Harrett, Khalifa El Khalifa, Season 3 champion, Jamie Griffiths, Mike Kelterborn, so-called fastest man in team speed, Gareth Hall in 13th, Arnaud de Grief, the returning Belgian, Waze Cuba, who is filling in for Michel Goris. Jamie Wright, Casper Klein, Deck Cornley, who is filling in for someone else whose name I've forgotten, so we'll skip on that. Jordan Lane and Yuri Hazelaga. Oh, Kyle Smith. That's who Deck is in for, Kyle Smith. That's the 20 drivers then. The most stacked grid, the most decorated grid. Call it what you like. It's going to be the most bloody competitive season you've ever seen in esports. JACKOCAR delivering the goods once again as the drivers line up in Singapore. 15 laps of this absolute hellhole await. Ooh. And some of the guys positioning themselves.
That's bad from Kajman there. He gets himself disqualified. Already given an advantage to Ben.
So you can see it from...
Just want to keep my eyes on Yuri here. Just
see it from Ben's view.
We know his parking. Yep, he's... yeah.
Look at this. Absolute
There's another person. Who is it?
Still no rule against it, but it doesn't matter. It's 3, 4, and 5 lights in Singapore. JACKOCAR Season 5 of the Cup Series. It's go! And it looks like Iceman may have a slightly better start than Jake, but look at Owen Wyatt climbing the ranks in his P1 into turn 1. The two championship protagonists are in the wall. Both are still in the race, but they're in the wall. Owen Wyatt leads, and a yellow flags all around. Will there be a safety car? The whole field is concertinaed up. There's no call for a safety car yet.
It looks like that's a virtual safety car.
It does indeed look like a virtual safety car, but look at these two. So speaking of incidents, whilst we got a yellow flag here, drivers now only have 3 credits to use all season. So you've got to pick your moments when you decide that you want to report somebody. I wonder if Jake and Ben, who are conveniently enough my 2 stewards, will report that one. Hopefully they let it go because it is early doors. Jake locking up there.
Yeah, Jake coming off worse from that incident, not even making it to turn 1. He's got no front wing. Looks like Ben got away with it. Doesn't look like he's got any wing damage. But I say get away with it, he's practically at the back of the grid.
Yeah, it's very...
He's got an almighty race ahead of him now.
Very reminiscent of the Vettel, Raikkonen and Verstappen crash from a few years ago, wasn't it?
Oh God, yeah.
Owen Wyatt taking full advantage of that, and Jamie Numbers, oh my Jesus, has lost it on the bridge.
Oh wow.
5-second penalty there for Deck. Safety car is now been deployed. So Singapore, you may remember season 1. Owen Wyatt said absolute pandemonium. Well, it's happened again, but at much slower speeds. So yeah, safety car has been deployed on lap 1 of race 1. So JACKOCAR is back. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, especially, well, we know what happened in Kia Series last season at Singapore. I'm very much hoping that we do not have a repeat of that here in Cup Series. Although it's looking like it is now.
Now, Danny, what will be interesting here is, of course, you are allowed to make 1 mandatory stop under the safety car. You've only got to make 1 mandatory stop as well. So who pits here? Who trusts their tyres to go to the end? We're going to get 1 at least, surely.
Yeah, Kajman, definitely. I'd say Kajman has to pit.
And don't be surprised to see Jake win this race later on.
Even I'd say Deck will pit, and he is pitting. He's going to get rid of that 5-second penalty.
Jake stays out.
That's...
I wonder if he knows he's right at the back anyway, he's going to leave it a couple laps and then pit.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. Then the tyres will be fresher.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I reckon he's going to do there.
Maybe he's thinking that the lap 3 rule.
Oh shit, yeah. I forgot about that. Bloody hell. Oh yeah, so Deck's pit stop there is illegal. And I imagine the penalty will still...
Get away. He did.
Did he get rid of it?
I think he got rid of it because it would be a 5-second stop go.
He'll get another 5 seconds to
go
out the line. Okay, so that's absolutely fine. So yeah, my apologies. Of course, you cannot make a mandatory pit stop until lap 3. This is why I need co-commentators. So yeah, so that will actually work out in the favour of Jake anyway, or against him actually, because everyone, you would assume, is going to pit on lap 3.
Well, by deck pitting has actually bought more time for everyone else. To
Absolutely,
actually,
yeah.
if it does get to if they get to well, just before the pit entrance, and deck hasn't caught up, they can all, well, it'll be another lap.
Oh, yeah, that'll be all right. So, shocking revelation I'm reading here in the Cup Series chat is that somebody, that's me, forgot to turn parc fermé conditions on, but it is what it is. All drivers are exposed to that same rule, so anybody who noticed it and was clever enough to select a wet setup, that's a freebie. I don't give many of those away, so there will be a mix of setups here. As we look at Deck Acornly, Australia still fresh in the mind of him.
There? What's happened there with Deck? He went very, very deep into that, into the right.
I was embarrassed for him, so I moved away. So, anybody who is foolish enough like me, will they pit? Will they forget about the rule? It would appear everybody is staying out. So your top 5 at the moment, very interesting. Of Owen Wyatt, Leroy, Corey, Risky and Connor. I know Owen would take that, but of course if Owen were to win this race, nobody advances to the playoffs. We have 3 pitters at the back.
Yuri, 5-second penalty. That was on the pit entry.
Yep, you would imagine he would pit again next lap. But he's gone inters. So
that's interesting.
So as ever, does he know something we don't?
Maybe the rain is, well, maybe he's just preempting the rain lightning a bit, and it doesn't look as torrential. Oh, okay, yep, he's just, he's spinning everywhere. And he's broken his front left end plate. Yeah, it's not looking good for Yuri.
Is that heads gone already? 3 laps in?
Yeah, I think.
Or just the wrong tyre?
Mixture of both, I think.
He's got to pit again anyway.
Yeah, and he's got front wing damage, so...
Do you know one rule that I have remembered? You can't follow the safety car in, otherwise it's a non-mandatory stop.
Yeah. The only way you can do that is if you're lapped.
Yes. But that's just to get out of the way of everybody. Yeah. So yes, we do have a race on our hands. Once it gets going, at least, we will. And look at the names at the back of this grid. There's such a mix-up, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely is. And I think the safety car, if it doesn't come in this lap, then everyone, it is in this lap.
Oh, you love to see it, don't you?
People who were probably planning to come in. And now this has happened, they're going to have to wait one more lap. And especially, well, nobody has made a mandatory pit stop yet.
So it's...
So this is the grid as it is.
Tyres, penalties, what do I want? I want stops. So I'm just going to make a note of this for my own reference. Don't mind me. I will put tyres back up in a second. There they are. So yeah, let's see if they are better than me and remember the rule. You would expect everybody to do another racing lap. This is really going to hurt Yuri here.
Yeah, definitely is. He's going to be so far behind, and he's got a wing change to do. And he's got a 5-second penalty.
Keep an eye on everybody and the pit lane. I'll keep an eye on this restart. Owen Wyatt leads the field away and gets away beautifully away from Leroy. And they fan out behind. So the new restart rule working well for everybody. Khalifa and Arnaud have pitted.
Khalifa and Arnaud. And Yuri.
And I see Leroy in the wall.
Ooh.
So yeah, somebody's going to have to tell Khalifa and Arnaud. The rules are available on the Discord for those of you that are in there. If you want to have a read yourself, we are missing all the action. Pete Knighton on the back of Risky. Will Risky let him go? Both speed counterparts. And Pete will send it up the inside. Lovely move, but you know Risky won't give it up easy. These are part of the same team, but Pete using his muscles to get through there. And Risky now fighting Connor Byers, who has a moment. And it's, oh, sorry, it was MK Bourne who snuck through on Risky. I missed that. We're on board with Connor, who was struggling himself. It's Ben and Casper behind those, and now Ben will try and send it around the outside here of Casper.
Oh, Casper.
Oh, they are sliding all over the place. But meanwhile, up front, I believe Owen Wyatt has it covered for now from Corey. Pete Knighton will be most annoyed that it's those two in front of him. But certainly, looking good.
Will.
We'll say no more about Pete.
Annoyed. But both Khalifa and Arnaud are on the intermediate tyres.
Yes, they are, which is obviously the wrong tyre.
Yeah, they will have to make another stop, though.
Yeah. Oh.
Yellow flags. Not sure who that is or what that was for.
You'll notice as well, Yuri did go back to the wet tyre, so Inter's clearly not it. Risky, trying to defend from Connor.
Oh.
And your reigning champion is out of the race. And that will bring a safety car out, I assume.
Oh, what's happened?
Owen Wyatt pits.
What has happened there? Deck, what has happened there with everyone?
Where am I looking? Deck?
I've seen like Deck, J-Luke, Leroy without a front wing.
Yeah, Leroy.
I'm not sure what's happened there.
Leroy Leroy already had no front wing from the restart. Deck enters the pit lane. These are now mandatory stops, by the way. But Khalifa and Arnaud are obviously climbing the order, but with illegal stops to their name.
Everyone else.
But
well,
everyone going on to Inters.
Yeah. It looks like the rain is definitely letting up. The rain has definitely let up.
Indeed it has, in fact. Arnaud looking very racy on the back of Khalifa. The two rusty boys from ERT getting at it, and through goes Arnaud. So much for all that rusty. Welcome back to JACKOCAR. Arnaud goes through, and I did say we'll talk about him. Potential swan song season. He said he's got time for one more, although specifically his words were at least one more season. Maybe we'll get another one in season 9. But for now, let's just enjoy these 16 races with Arnaud as we now lose Ben Shaw from the Singapore race. Does that bring out a safety car?
I'm not sure what happened there, because he's...
So the two stewards that come together on lap 1, Deck goes awfully wide. The two stewards that come together are now both out of the race. It doesn't really matter. I imagine they'll save their credits and not report that. It would make a lot of sense to me. Yuri exiting the pit lane once again, back on the intermediates. He's not having a good day. But if he finishes, obviously, if anyone finishes, they score points. And that's what you got to think about.
Only 5 people have not stopped. It looks like, well, Waze is staying out.
Waze going for glory and will lead the end of lap 5 as well, as we see Pete, Mike, Ben Harrett and Connor all pit. Does that mean Owen Wyatt will recycle to the net lead here?
Does look like he will.
Yeah.
Yeah, not even close. And look at the gap that he's got back to Corey. Even Arnaud is the fastest man on track at the moment. He's right on the back of Corey.
And what a great shame for Arnaud as well. I assume he doesn't know that rule. But, like I say, all drivers were told to read the rules. It doesn't matter how new and familiar you are, or how old and not familiar you are with the rules. You must read this new rule book. And I think it's going to bite Arnaud and Khalifa here. They're on the back of Corey, who has a little issue there. But Corey looking good to start season 8, especially when you look at Jake and Ben, who are out, and of course Arnaud and Khalifa, who are going to be disqualified at this rate.
Connor absolutely sent it down the inside of Jordan. Jordan does the same, but Connor sticks it round the outside. Great move there. Great aggressive move there from Connor.
Good stuff from Connor, making progress through the field once again. And of course Jordan, we already said it, no traction control now. So he's still very much in a learning phase, but a good driver nonetheless. He will have his moment, I promise you. That win is coming. And it's going to be this season.
He's getting right on the back, practically pushing Corey through some of these corners here. He's looking really
Khalifa locks up.
racy. Very close. Very, very close there for Khalifa.
Yeah,
But
Khalifa,
that enables Casper to close up to him a little bit more.
Khalifa really struggling actually with the ABS here. You can tell he's been out for a little while because normally he was very on the ball. Waves will now pit. Yellow flags. Risky's out of this race as Owen Wyatt sets the fastest lap. What does that do? A safety car or not game? What are we talking about, Codemasters?
Doesn't look like it, Casper. Yeah, the track is definitely getting faster and faster.
Yeah, and Arnaud is drifting round.
Oh my.
Speaking of lag, I'm looking at my stream. I'm seeing a little couple of hairy moments. Hopefully nothing, no action was missed.
And Jordan is in the pit lane as well. He's dropping down behind Leroy. That gets a 5-second penalty for the corner cutting.
Again.
Yeah, he's on. Well, it's on 5 seconds now.
So, Khalifa and Casper. There's a little battle going on there. In fact, the closest battle is Ben Harrett and Gareth, the midfield man and the fastest man in esports, who doesn't have a title. Gareth Hall going at it here. Down into the hairpin. Awful camera angle that was. We've switched to T-Cam. Ben Harrett looking very lively as Arnaud gets past Corey, and Deck is now out of this race. What a move from Arnaud around the outside. Fantastic stuff from him. And Corey, that is one of his rivals, but I wonder if Corey knows about the illegal pit stop. In fact, Danny, can you write that one down so I don't forget? It's, it will go to an immediate VAR after this race.
I will get that.
So Arnaud, unless he pits, will technically give himself a double penalty. There'll be a disqualification. And for finishing P2, he would actually not be able to qualify in Saudi Arabia. The reason being, it's the in-game results that are counted in terms of who doesn't qualify for Saudi. So as it stands, that's Owen, Arnaud and Corey. But of course, Arnaud and Khalifa facing disqualification from this race. So keep that in mind. Casper will be laughing all the way here. What a good start to the season it would be. A P4 he'll take. That would be a P3, sorry. And Pete Knighton looking at a top 5 as well. So it appears to have settled down. I know Ben and Gareth and Connor are still here. I wonder if Connor's going to send one. Gareth certainly fills the mirrors of Ben Harrett. But nothing doing there. We'll stay on board with Connor for the moment. There are no closer battles what I can see on track. This is the main one. Owen Wyatt on his way to a grand victory here in Singapore. Just a few laps to go, and here goes Gareth. He's doing everything he can to put Ben Harrett off. Sorry, that was Ben Harrett on Gareth. Having my Jonathan Ledyard moment there. Slowly is Connor.
Really putting the pressure on now.
Oh, and there goes the front wing. Well, the pressure has exploded. And now surely you'd expect him to let Connor through.
Doesn't look like that's happening.
No, Connor would have seen that bit of damage come off as well. It flew away to the right at the hairpin. And of course the game sometimes, not often enough in my eyes, but sometimes it will give you a puncher for that. So Gareth getting away with one. And Ben Harrett in the wall. Look at these two behind, Waze and MK Bourne. So that releases Connor to try and attack Gareth, who is... has Connor got no front wing? Or is that just my eyes, Mr. Quinn?
No, he's definitely got a front wing.
Has he? Oh yeah, he does. Yeah. He goes straight on at turn 1, so perhaps the front wing is only there for looks, because it certainly didn't help him in there in turn 1. Gareth builds that gap back up, and now it's Waze and MK Bourne celebrating 100 Cup Series starts, who are on the back of Connor. Everybody else has stretched themselves out Leroy overtakes Ben Harrett, who's in the pits, but here goes Mike Kelterborn to the outside of Waze. And through he goes. Will it be a dive bomb? No, it won't. He'll try and get the undercut back through. Good driving here from Mike and Waze. Fantastic stuff. Will Waze give him the racing room? Just about. And what a move from Mike that was. Fantastic stuff from the man from North Germany. Great move indeed.
Yeah, what that battling has done is just completely let Connor and Gareth just pull away from him though. So, well, I say that, Mike is really starting to catch up to him and leaving Waste behind him as Connor and Gareth go side by side through the hairpin. You don't see that very often.
No, and Gareth must be really slow because Connor is just able to do stuff like that, and what a move it was. But that now means that Mike is going to be right behind Gareth and put pressure on him. Maybe he will. As I see the gap between Casper and Corey is very close. We join them at the end of lap 10. Casper backs off. He knows he is currently faster than Corey.
Yeah,
so this is a matter of time.
It's a little bit of a short pit straight here, but he's going to try and hang it round. A little bit of a switchback. He's going to try and capitalise, but Corey hugs the apex there. Very nice defensive driving there from Corey.
Lovely stuff, and they're being tailed by Khalifa, who has seemed to have found his mojo again, but Arnaud, who was with Khalifa, has broken away. He's in a field of his own. And I'll tell you someone else who's in a field of their own, Owen Wyatt.
Casper goes round the outside of Corey, but Corey squeezes him out of room, gives him a little bit of a bump for good measure. Corey goes back down the inside, but outside line for Corey reigns supreme, and he keeps hold of P3.
Yep, good driving from the two. Corey showing Casper that he certainly hasn't forgot how to race here in JACKOCAR, and Casper will know all about that. A man who's missed out on the Championship 5 2 or 3 times now, but Casper is very, very confident for this season. As we see him through the hairpin, there are yellow flags for a stopped car on track. I think it might be Yuri who's now got going. So back to this. Casper looks right, looks left, but there is no room behind Corey. How is Connor getting on? He has... Oh, I'll tell you what, it's Gareth who's actually dropped behind Waze and Mike there. Yellow flags for Jamie Wright.
Yeah. It looks like it's actually stopped raining. It stopped raining.
I think
although the track is still very greasy out there, the track is definitely drying up. One
thing I will say to you, Mr. Quinn, is if it has dried up, these guys are going to come in for dry tyres. That will save Arnaud and Khalifa from disqualification.
Yeah, it will. It will.
And I kind of hope, here goes Casper by the way, I kind of hope that they all go for dries, because we don't want to see 2 disqualifications in one race. Casper trying everything. Corey hanging on for dear life. MK Bourne setting the fastest lap. It is greasy. Is there enough time for dries though? You imagine if this was a 50% race. First of all, we'd run out of things to say. Secondly, we would definitely be going on the dry tyres. But here goes Casper. Where will he go? He goes to the right of Corey. Will Corey give him the racing room? Casper's already ahead before the corner. That's how much quicker he is at the moment. How will Corey respond to that? Khalifa has dropped back from him. Casper gets turned in nicely, and I think that is job done for him. So Corey off the podium for the moment.
Yeah, it looks like, well, Yuri's already pit for Slicks, but his brother Leroy's following suit, and so is Ben Harrett, so maybe it's time for Slicks now.
And those guys have nothing to lose, do they, down there?
These guys are the experimental pigs here for everyone else. Just seeing how they will perform, and once it's time, Leroy.
Silly.
Crossing the white line on pit exit does still look damp in places.
Well, Yuri's just been unlapped, or been lapped, sorry, by, I believe it's Pete Knighton now. So yeah, and Pete is still on those used Inters, so you would say that maybe Inters are the correct tyre. It's like Turkey 2020 conditions. Here's Jamie Wright in the pit lane for what you would assume is soft tyres. I can't quite see just yet. There, soft tyres it is. We'll leave him to do his own thing. Owen Wyatt with a 10-second lead. And Corey back through on Casper, who's pitted.
Yeah, Khalifa
as has Khalifa.
Well.
So Khalifa will not be disqualified from this race.
Yeah, I think Arnaud... I'm not sure. Well, Khalifa's pit, so maybe Arnaud comes in and in this next lap. Pete is in as well.
So
Waze stays out.
Oh, it's all up in the air. It's all up in the air. What do you do if you're Owen Wyatt? Because if everyone behind him pits, he's going to have a 37-second lead. DRS enabled, as Mr. Quinn rightly points out. And Owen Wyatt locking up into the sling here. So, the race leader, you know you're going to have 37 seconds. What do you do with those? Do you risk it and stay out for 3 more laps? Or do you pit like the rest of the field have and are going to? I think as well it will save Arnaud's race from disqualification, which is good stuff. Maybe he knew something we didn't, along with Khalifa, who has rejoined in P8. And yeah, everybody's 7th down now on the soft tyres. We see Jordan making an extra stop. Oh, he's just come out. My apologies. And yeah, so Owen Wyatt, all eyes on you, sir, as there are no battles currently. I do wonder how quick Casper is.
No one's close. No one's close to anyone.
I think the interesting one at the moment is seeing how fast Casper catches up to Waze. So Owen Wyatt will pit, which means everybody behind him will now pit. But how much have these guys lost over the 1 lap? So Arnaud...
Well, I mean, Casper's definitely gained a lot of time. He's gained nearly 3 seconds.
Yeah.
On even Waze since he pitted.
And the gap between Casper and Arnaud was 4 seconds or 8 seconds?
I can't remember actually, but that's Connor with fastest lap on the intermediate. He's staying out. Connor stayed out. He might be going to the end to try and snatch it.
That's what you love to see, isn't it? Casper.
Mike as well.
Casper is only 5th, but of course Connor and Mike have done that, so he comes from right behind Arnaud. In all of this, Danny, we've forgotten about the stage points, which are lap 4 and lap 7. I think Owen Wyatt led through both of them anyway, so taking those away from the full-time drivers. Owen Wyatt's previous best result of P3 in Portugal a couple seasons ago. And here goes Casper then on to Arnaud, but the battle for the race lead is here. It's Owen and Connor. Who predicted this one this morning when JACKOCAR got back up and running for the 8th season? Leroy, fastest lap. He's knocked 3 seconds off the previous best time, which was Connor, who almost puts it into the wall but quickly recovers. Owen Wyatt, pick your spot, pick your moment, and you'll get this done. There's going to be no battle. No battle from Connor. He knew that was gone, but perhaps he stays out to try and get the best result possible, because at the end of this lap, there's only going to be 2 to go.
Casper and Arnaud still just...
There's a mistake from Arnaud. Look at Casper. Yeah. Has he got the grip around the outside? No. Arnaud did recover in the end.
But it's going to be fairly close between Arnaud and, well, Mike and even Connor for the podium spot. But maybe if you're smart, maybe if you're Arnaud and those two do stay out, which they are, if you're Arnaud, maybe you just stick behind so you can qualify for Jeddah.
Maybe, but I think he's going to catch Mike far too quickly for that. He'll be slowing. He'll lose a position to Casper and then Khalifa and Corey. So I think he's got to go for it. In fact, he's already there, isn't he? Arnaud is already there on MK Bourne. Is there going to be any fight from the German? Casper. No, but he holds up Casper. But Casper goes around as well. What a move.
Even Khalifa as well is rapidly catching up to Mike here. But it's interesting to see how far behind Corey is just from staying out.
Yeah.
One extra lap.
Don't mind me having a drink because I was running out of voice there. So, in the time it took me to have a sip of Monster Energy, who we are unfortunately not sponsored by, Connor lost 2 seconds to Arnaud. That's how quick these guys are going. So, you would assume Connor, this is going to get tasty here, you would assume Connor is just going to let these guys go and try and get the best result possible, but he is still stuck.
That's
Arnaud's through. Arnaud's through. Wow, and here goes Casper next.
But the thing is, J-Luke, I believe, is lapped. Well, he's not lapped, but he's
ahead. He's been lapped by Owen.
But he's holding up Arnaud.
I dare say Owen Wyatt has this one covered. Arnaud getting frustrated with the two-time champion. And he will have his moment now. Yeah, 5-second penalty for Jamie Wright as well. Still adjusting to Will. Give him time. He'll be winning races once again. 19 to his name so far. Connor Byers having a moment. We'll hold on to 5th because I don't know if Corey, who's struggling behind Mike, I don't know if Corey can make that time up in a lap. Perhaps he will. We'll never know. Mike goes for a spin. He'd stuck his nose in where he shouldn't have, though. Corey is through into 6th. Can he chase down Connor? Khalifa, by the way, in 4th on his return. He's not getting disqualified. And neither is Arnaud, who is trying to keep that gap to Casper. But who is Arnaud behind now? It looks like Yuri to me from this angle. And here's the race leader, Owen Wyatt. An absolute masterclass from the man from Northern Ireland. We've never had a Northern Irish winner. Although, unless you count Sullivan Lewis, who is a part citizen of Northern Ireland. 50% of the way there. But Owen Wyatt will be the first full-timer as he starts to have fun and drift his green and blue machine out of these corners. He spent 7 seasons as lead commentator in the box. And now, in his second start in the Cup Series, Owen Wyatt wins in Singapore. What a fantastic result for him. It means nobody will qualify for the playoffs. Then they're still battling for P2 here. Is Arnaud and Casper. I wonder if Casper settles. He does, so it's going to be... Whoa, massive! Casper's out, but he will cross the line. Casper crossed the line in P3. He will be reinstated. Wow, the spinning Yuri at the line. He almost took Arnaud with him. Casper will finish 3rd. That is a fact. Unbelievable scenes at the end. Connor, by the way, obviously once you reinstate Casper, Connor, P5. Bold strategy to stay out. MK Bourne as well in his 100th start. Gets himself 9 points for his efforts. So it wasn't quite the right strategy, but it paid off enough to warrant the decision. Gareth, bang average in P9. Leroy completes the top 10. No, he doesn't. That's Jordan. And then Ben Harrett. And that's all of them. So, Danny, I will let you cover the top 10. Because I need to take some pictures.
Yeah, once we actually get there.
Yes, of course. Just to remind viewers, we will be ending this stream at the end of this race and then starting a new one for Saudi Arabia. So please do stay with us, but also bear with us. But yeah, Danny will run you through the order.
Yeah, so we have Owen Wyatt, of course, getting the race win and the fastest lap. Then we have Arnaud in P2, be Casper, reinstated into 3rd. In 4th, we have Khalifa. 5th, we have Connor. 6th, we have Corey. Very clean drive from him, although he did get caught out from just pitting a lap later. Then we have Pete Knighton in 6th. Mike in... Well, no. That'll be... I've confused myself. It'll be Pete in 7th. Mike in 8th. Wace in 9th. Gareth in 10th. Jordan in 11th. Ben Harrett in 12th. Leroy in 13th. Casper in 14th. Then we have J-Luke 15th. Leroy 16th. Then the non-finishers, we have Deck, we have Sully, we have Ben Shaw, Kajman, and Jamie.
Thank you very much. There's some dispute going on in the chat that Casper's car did not actually cross the line. So I will do my best efforts here. It is going to be JACKOCAR used for the first time this season. Let's see what happened at the end. So Owen Wyatt celebrating his victory. Arnaud is P2 at the time. Casper in P3. Yori spins. Casper DNFs, and his car crosses the line. Or does it? Oh. So we will be back with you all once we've VAR'd this. So yeah, please do join us for Saudi Arabia in about 5 to 10 minutes.